Hello and welcome to another episode of Collector's Edition. Today I thought I'd share with you my two passions, give you a little bit of history as well, how I got into things that I love and stuff like that. And a big influence for me was my father. We were cleaning out one of his old collecting rooms. It was a coat collecting room. He gave me these comics. He knew I was into comics. I was just starting out. I just bought 500 Batman comics for like 20 bucks. And he saw these and he thought they'd be collectible one day because they're all #1s. We've got Superman #1 here. It's an all-colour comic. These are also Planet Comics, the Super Adventure albums. And these were produced by Murray Publishing. Murray Publishing ran from 1947 to 1983. They were owned by KG Murray. And basically what they did was they reprinted DC Comics via imprints. An imprint is you get the raw image from DC themselves in America. They'd ship it over and you could print it, just like a newspaper or something along those lines. These included, under Murray Publishing was Color Comics, Murray Comics and Planet Comics, which all these are. The company started out publishing original artwork from Australia. These included such things as Flame Man, High Compression and The Lost Patrol. In mid-1947, Murray Publishers launched its first international title, which was a full DC reprint of Superman, all-colour comic, which is this one. This is the variant cover, so this one came out a little bit later. It was a reprint from a reprint. And this went on to dominate Australian reprinting fields. And so this is the first one. It's all in colour. It's numbered #1. At the peak of its dominance, Superman comics, the reprinted ones from Murray Publishing, were selling 150,000 copies a month, which is just crazy when you think about it. In 1959, the Australian government lifted the ban on publishing laws, so Australia could start getting American publications in and didn't need reprints anymore, which sadly led to the decline in sales, which eventually sold Murray Publishing to the Kerry Packer empire in 1973. So that's a little bit sad, but that's how I sort of got into comic books, got into collecting, stuff like that. And while we're on the line of comics, and something that's also passionate in my heart is Supanova. As you probably got from last week's episode, I do love going to conventions. I love meeting famous people. It's all sort of great. And I just thought I'd give you a little bit of history on my notes here. I've got some notes so I don't miss anything, of how we got to Supanova. It started, well, back in 1979. The first true Comic-Con 1, that's what they called it, Comic-Con 1, was held at RMIT University in Melbourne. It was at a university. The following year, they got a little bit more momentum and called it Comic-Con 2. And they got it at the Sheraton Hotel in Melbourne. If you've ever been to the Sheraton Hotel, they got a huge conference room. And that's all it was. It was in one room. That then followed the next year was Comic-Con 3 in Sydney. They had a bigger complex. It was gaining more people. And then nothing the next year. Absolutely nothing. There was no Comic-Con 4. No, there was no Comic-Con 4. A few years went by. And in 1986, at the Sydney Opera House, so this was huge, they got the Sydney Opera House. It was called the Australian Comic Book Convention. There was international guests, including the artist who drew the Spirit and Spider-Man at the time. So for the event, the poster featured the Spirit as a koala and Spider-Man as a kangaroo. If you've got this poster, it's worth a lot of money. So if you've got it, please contact me on Facebook. I'd love to see it, because I haven't seen one. No one knows where they've all gone. So yeah, and it was really big. It was huge. It was. They had people coming over from San Diego Comic-Con to help set it up. So it was a lot. It was set up a lot like the San Diego Comic-Con was at the time. The next year came round, and they couldn't get any sponsors. So they had a lot of little sponsors, but it didn't make up to get any guests. So there was no Comic-Con for another 6 years. Another con came along called OzCon Convention. This was held in Sydney from 1992 to 1998, with a special one-off in 1997 in Melbourne. And then in 1999, nothing came again. We were at a loss for Comic-Con. Comic Fest came along, again in Sydney, from 2000 to 2002. And the main organisers of this, they couldn't really get any more sponsorship. And they wanted to change. They wanted to mix it up a little bit. They didn't like the way it was sitting. So they went off, the main people of Comic Fest. And in 2002, the same year that Comic Fest ended, Supanova began. This is Australia's largest con. They can say that with confidence because it is. And it started in 2002 in Sydney. And then 2003 it started in Melbourne. And then we got Perth. And then we got Hobart. And now we've got Adelaide. And it's still running to this day. And it's a great convention to go to. They've usually got awesome guests. So yeah, that's basically how I got into my passion. If you've got a story you'd like to tell, please contact me on facebook.com. It's // It's a slash. Collector's Edition AU. And we can probably talk on camera if you want to. Or I can tell your story through the camera. If you've got a collection you'd like to share, please contact me in the same way. If you liked this video, please press the like button below. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And share me on Facebook, share me on Twitter, share me on all your mediums. And I'll see you next week. Keep collecting.